Bills center Mitch Morse for From the Armchair, which is presented by Raymore and Flanagan. Raymore and Flanagan is a proud partner of the Buffalo Bills. And Mitch, not a victory, tough ending on Sunday, but I think there were, I know this is going to sound hokey and cliche, but some positives to pull from the performance. And probably one of the bigger ones was the Bills may have finally found a field stretcher for their passing game.
Dude, did they? I mean, a topic of conversations, right? We're at the end of the year. We've seen a bunch of them unfold. This team does this well. They can't do this well. And in a game where we definitely saw elements take a toll on game plans or, just fielding the ball, whether it was a snap or just a regular catch, or was it a fumble or not a fumble, this is the time where they decided to air it out. And you get a guy like Brandon Cooks, who's got 4 receptions for 101 yards. You have that really cool shot to Tyrell Shavers. They opened it up, and it was fun to see. It was another element that they've added into their repertoire, to say the least, towards the end of this year. And it's going to bode well to at least, maybe they don't go back to it. Maybe this is the one game where they show it, but it's in the back of these defensive coordinators' minds and in the forefront of some of the players' minds, because they've shown it on film. And I think that's the biggest thing, is you want as much on film as possible. Maybe it's something they enjoyed and they appreciated, and it's something they will come back to, but they don't necessarily have to. It's just something for the defense to think about.
And the defense thinks about it, and they've got to prepare for it, right? I mean, certainly, Cooks dropped one on the first play, on the first drive of the game, going down against, I think, the Patriots.
Yeah.
And then dropped another one going down the sidelines against Cleveland. Would have been a good catch. Not a great catch, would have been a good catch, but he couldn't get that one pulled in. This one, he pulls 2 of them in. One of them was a really tough catch, the second one. And, of course, Shavers goes up high and grabs one, too. Yeah, you got to think about it all the time if you're an NFL defense, but the fact the Bills are willingly throwing it and getting it done, I mean, how does that change things for them going forward? That certainly gives them one more bullet in the chamber, if you will.
Yeah, Steve. Well, it gives an opportunity for this offense to show that it works for themselves and for, of course, opposing defenses. It's a huge momentum swinger, right? Like, you can just feel the energy, especially at home or away. It just sucks the life out of an opposing team. These huge shots, especially these incredibly contested catches in those elements, like we had talked about. It's fun. I mean, it's sexy. It's something that this offense might not have been labeled as, right? And you get guys who, yes, they might have dropped the ball in these, I'm talking about Brandon Cooks here once or twice, but man, in some of these big moments, and then there was one that was just off kilter, whether it was the route or the throw, that would have been a home run shot. So they're viable. You bring a guy in like this, it's what you want to see as a fan. It's what you want to see as a guy in the locker room. A guy you brought in to be a weapon down the field is now producing and available. He's a speedster. He's been doing this for a very long time, and this is his bread and butter, and he's coming through in these big moments, and hopefully he can continue those as Josh and him build that rapport. I think that's probably the biggest thing. I've never had to catch a ball in a game, thank God, but I assume it, especially these deeper balls, it's all about rapport. Timing is of the essence, and you're just building that not only in practice but now in games.
A lot was made of the second half defensive effort by the Bills, and I know the guys on the back end have been getting a lot of credit for shutting down opposing passing games of late. Top receivers for other teams have not gotten over 60 yards the last month. Passer rating against for the Bills right now is top 5 in the league, and a lot of credit goes to those guys on the back end, obviously, but you notice some stuff going on up front, too, that helped make a difference, and all I know is I saw Dorian Williams take a 300-pound offensive tackle and knock him on his keister.
Yeah, that was one of those moments you're glad you retired from the game of football, because those are the worst. I will say the one thing that stood out to me, if we're just talking about the defensive line, is, of course, movement in the run game, how they were able to move not only within their gaps, like Deion Walker was doing a fantastic job of swimming, creating penetration, but also their violent use of hands. I think that's the biggest thing that this team has been working on and that we've seen. And then stunt game, twist games, timing in regards to blitzes, everything just seems to be working together. And then when there was times where the defense wasn't able to get to the passer. The back end has been holding up tremendously. I had no idea about those past 4 weeks. It's a tremendous statistic to be labeled with. It's just fun to watch this defense, and something that this is a really potent offense, defending Super Bowl champions. Something that you shouldn't take lightly is that this team produced very well on defense, and that's something you can move forward with.
What's keeping that from emerging more often? I mean, you see it in the second half of some games, and so they've proven that that's in the tank there somewhere, right? What's keeping them from being consistently that good?
Well, it sounds like they're catching a little bit of consistency these past few weeks, and sometimes it just takes, I mean, you don't want to say the whole year to figure out your MO or figure out how to have all these pieces work together. And sometimes if it's a blitz or if it's a certain call, certain things like coordinators, they find their groove towards the end of the season. They've limited the lingo. They've either dialed up more because they know that this team can be more pliable in regards to information they can take in, or they've kind of consolidated the information to let these guys play faster. And also it's just with players working with each other. We've had injuries. I don't like talking about injuries that much because it's a part of the game of the football. But you have different guys working with each other, and it's just one of those things that they finally figured out what's working for them, and they've caught the groove. And part of football is just getting in a groove, and it's not sexy and it's not analytical, but it's the truth, man. And it's hard to explain, but these guys have definitely hit their groove these past few weeks.
Mitch, this is the last time we'll get to talk to you before this final game in Highmark Stadium is played, at least in the regular season. I suppose there's a small shred of a chance that a home playoff game could end up here, depending on where the Bills finish. If they're the 7th seed, it won't happen. What flashes in your mind when you think about this building and your five seasons spent in it?
Well, that's a great question. Something I've been thinking about these past few days, rather. I mean, you think of first in the big picture, you think of guys like Steve or even guys before that, just it's monumental moments have happened in these stadiums. You can say that about any stadium that's held a team for a certain amount of time, right? But you think about those huge AFC runs that Steve's teams went on. The torches being passed from one generation to another. We only get to rent these jerseys, and we get to rent these opportunities we get to have in a stadium like Highmark Stadium. And to share some of those memories and to be a part of those is such a privilege. If I have to think of some for myself, I think of that 2020 postseason where you get that first win, that one that we've been waiting for at home for a bit. And even though the stadium wasn't full, it was at a very small capacity. The energy was tangible. It was palpable. It was so joyous. And you could feel the energy from the folks at home sharing that. And then the next week you have Lamar Jackson being picked up by Taron Johnson in that low-scoring affair to win another game at home. And then I think of the first game back after Damar Hamlin with Naheem Hines returning to, especially that first one, man, like where you're going on the field, the stadium, the foundation, you could feel it literally move. And then you think of that, and you think of those were just 5 years that I had. And then there's players who've played there much longer and had even crazier stakes played there. And those are compounded over and over again. And just to have that small moment, those 5 years at that stadium was so beautiful. And whoever steps out in the field, if it's reserves or if it's the starters, like there's going to be a little bit of something to that. There's some substance to that. There's a little bit of weight, some gravitas to that, because you don't want to make a game too much of what it is, but you're holding 53 years worth of tremendous football by an organization that means so much to a town with that. It'll be a beautiful send-off. I'm so glad you guys will be able to be there. I'll be here watching it at home. It's just such a blessing and privilege to be a part of it. I can't wait to see how that place is celebrated come Sunday.
Yeah, you're right, Mitch. There are so many hundreds of guys who've played, and we just rent the jersey. I mean, when I left, they didn't retire my jersey. They just washed it, right, and handed it out again. So but it was still a privilege to be one of the guys. I know a lot of the guys, Stephen Gosnell this year wears wears number 89 now, and I took it over from a guy named Lou Picone, who was before me, and somebody had it before him, and same with you. There have been other guys who have worn that jersey number, and there's a little bit of a kinship there through the generations. You feel a great deal of affection for the guys who played in that stadium for that team, and it is kind of emotional when you think about the fraternity of the guys who were part of the home team.
Yeah, I know the fraternity, and I also think of the amount of fans that have poured their heart and soul. One of my favorite things to see is when they say this is of course they bring veterans out and they put them on the jumbotron. That's tremendous. But this is a season ticket holder since the door opens to this place. This guy hasn't missed a home game and 4 decades, except for one time where his daughter got married off. And then you have people getting engaged, people getting married. So many stories, so many memories. Of course, a lot of barf probably because that's just a good time. But there's not only the players have such an invested interest in this because, of course, this is your job. It's a privilege to play there. But the fans have even more of a vested interest. So I pray that it's such a celebration, such a kickoff. And, of course, we're moving across the street and decades passing now, we'll have stories about that. But what a tremendous experience, man.
Mitch, thanks for the time. Enjoy watching the game on Sunday. We'll catch up with you next week. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, fellas. God bless you. I'll see you soon.
All right.